I have always been fascinated by the five senses. We see, we hear, we touch, we taste, and we smell. I believe effective spiritual formation for adolescents utilizes all of these senses. Take my own life, for example. Sight. The earliest thing I can remember from my childhood in terms of spiritual formation was seeing my parents live out their faith. At meals, I would see them pray. In church, I would see them worship. And at home, I would see them love one another. My faith grew because I had an example to look at and follow suit. Matthew 13:16 says, "But blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear." Children need to see what a mature faith looks like. Hearing. This sense is arguably the most important for spiritual formation. Hearing the word of the Lord is the theme found throughout the entire Bible. We hear his word when a minister preaches to the people. In my own life, preaching has heavily influenced my faith. The proclamation of the gospel is the primary means by which God saves sinners. I heard the gospel all my life, but I never truly knew what it meant until I heard Jeff Walling preach at a Christian camp my junior year. He preached the gospel in a creative and eloquent way. I came away from the message wanting to bow and worship Jesus more than when I first walked in. I used my ears to hear the word of the Lord and respond. Touch. The book of James says that faith without works is dead. If we never do anything for the Lord, then our faith is in vain. This is where touch comes in. Children growing in the faith must practice what they see and hear. They need to serve, they need to love, and they need to open their Bibles. In my own life, I'm forever grateful that my parents forced me to serve in the church. I learned how to lend a helping hand and how to use my talents to build up the body. It was a hands-on faith and not something that was avoided. Taste. As children, we would not think of this sense as being a huge part of our formation, but in retrospect, this sense has been foundational for me. The sacrament of communion was practiced every week while growing up. I tasted the symbolic body and blood of Christ. I used my taste to develop a relationship with the Almighty. Psalm 34 says, "Taste and see that the Lord is good." Communion was vital for my formation. This ancient practice is what keeps us near to the Lord, and when we are near to him, we can taste his goodness. Smell. Ephesians 5:1-2 says, "Therefore be imitators of God as beloved children, and walk in love. As Christ loved us and gave himself up for us, a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God." When we imitate God, we produce a pleasing aroma to him. In my own spiritual formation, there would be moments where I was so close to God that I could almost smell him. I longed to have a faith where I could walk in his every step and be so close to him, I could smell his goodness. So what does all this have to do with spiritual formation? I believe that my deepest areas of growth were because I was immersed in the gospel from an early age. I could see it, touch it, hear it, taste it, and smell it. It seemed so close. It's important to note, however, that none of this could have been possible if it wasn't for godly men and women who poured into my life. Whether it was my parents, or youth ministers, or mentors, or coaches, they all had one goal in common, and that was to live like Christ as best they could and show me how to do the same. Spiritual formation will never work unless faithful Christians continue to sow the seed of the gospel in the youth. And that is what spiritual formation is. It's pouring into someone for the sake of the gospel and making that gospel so real that they can see it, and they can hear it, and they can touch it, and they can taste it, and they can smell it.